Whenever you're ready, Ken.
My guest today is the Vice President Marketing of Glue, found at getglue.com, a website that helps you find your next favorite movie, book, music album, or other everyday thing. Glue shows you things that you'll like based on your personal tastes, what your friends like, and what's most popular on Glue. Please join me in welcoming Fraser Kelton. Fraser?
Hi, Mark. Thank you for having me on the show today.
Hey, my pleasure. Thanks for coming. So tell us, what is Glue in your own words?
Glue is a social recommendation network that you use, and there's two components of it. One is a website, and you can teach Glue about the books and the movies and the music that you like, and in turn, it will suggest books and movies and music that you'll probably like based on your tastes. You can also add Glue to your browser, and it will intelligently appear on popular sites about books and movies and music. And it will show you friend reviews and also personalized suggestions as you browse the web. So you can go to, let's say, I think you have Anne Rice on your show. You can go to one of her books on Amazon,
Yep.
and you'll be able to see a filtered set of reviews right on the page.
So you basically will do an overlay. So basically, if I have your browser plugin, you'll do an overlay on top of whatever page I'm on and show me the reviews for that particular item. Inside of the Glue bar, where does it? How does it appear? Does it appear overlaid on the page? How does that work?
Yeah, so it just appears right along the bottom of the page like a thin strip, and it will show you friend faces,
Yep.
and then you can access their reviews. I guess the unique thing about it is that we recognize that same book exists across dozens of popular sites. And so it doesn't matter whether you look at the book at Amazon or Barnes & Noble or Powell's or IndieBound, it's that same book, and you'll be able to see your friends' reviews for that book regardless of the page that you and they look at.
Okay. So, but the company name is called Adaptive Blue, and you started building a technology which Glue is based on top of. Is that correct? So
That's correct.
What is the secret sauce? Like, I hear this and I think, well, this sounds like collaborative filtering. I mean, which is cool. I've seen it before, though. And you're right. You have collaborative filtering on Amazon and lots of other sites. What is it that you guys do that's different? And I know you span multiple websites, but besides that, I'm talking about the secret sauce of how it works. Talk about the technology itself and how that works.
Sure. So the secret sauce of the technology is a semantic infrastructure. And semantics means the meaning.
Yep.
And so we're able to understand the specific meaning of the pages that you're looking at across these popular sites. And that allows us to correlate the unique book that exists on Amazon to the same book that exists on dozens or hundreds of other sites across the web. And so we start to get away from a web of domains and URLs and more towards a web of objects. And it's very natural for you and I to think of that, if you recommend a book, you're actually recommending that specific book. It doesn't matter that that book exists on Amazon or Powell's or IndieBound. And so what we're getting to is a web of things, which is the specific book,
Right.
regardless of the URL that you're looking at.
Now, how does it? But you say it semantically understands what that object is, and you're basically, how does a computer wrap its electronic brain, if you will, around what the thing is? Because computers are notoriously bad at this, right? People have been trying to solve AI since the 50s. Marvin Minsky famously assigned the problem of computer vision to a grad student over summer, and it's still not adequately solved. And there's been a lot of wild claims about AI and semantics lately. Other than word stemming and sort of the known techniques, what's different? What is it that you guys are actually doing that's providing the magic of understanding the meaning?
Sure. So I guess there's the traditional way, you're right, hasn't made a lot of progress so far, and that is what we call the bottom-up technique, which is requires publishers, whether it's Amazon or an independent blogger, to go and add a lot of markup language to their pages so that machines can then understand what's on the site.
Right.
What's different with our approach is
that basically boils down to human curation, right? So you have humans.
That's right.
They're actually explaining to the computers what it is. So the computers are not really understanding what's going on. So you guys are saying that your computers will understand what these things are proactively.
That's right. And our technique is a simplified version of that. And what we do is we go from the top down. And so we say there are a lot of clues already that exist on the page for the objects that we support, which is, let's pick on books for a second. Mark, how do you and I know that a book is a unique book when we're walking through a bookstore? We look at things such as the title, such as the author, the publisher, the publishing date. Books are great because they have an ISBN as well. Number of pages. There's a whole kind of bucket of clues that we would use to identify it. And that's similar, maybe a similar analogy to the technology that we have in place, is we look for enough clues to get a fingerprint for that book across these different sites, and then we can correlate it. So we're able to understand that a book on Amazon has a title, a publisher, an author, and that gives us a unique key that we can then correlate to other books that exist across these popular sites.
Right. Okay, that makes sense actually. So the value to a book fan of Glue is that they're able to find new books. It's really discovery, right? So the more you participate in Glue and tell Glue what your likes are, and you annotate the books that you like and put them in your profile, it then starts suggesting books to you. Is that correct?
That's correct. So that would be the most immediate value. You join and you teach Glue what you like, and then based on your preferences in your taste profile, it's going to suggest other books or movies that you'll probably like as well. The second thing is, there's no more frustrating experience for me, at least, than going to, let's say, Amazon, seeing that there's 400 reviews on a specific book, not knowing who these individuals are, and wanting to know what my friends actually thought of this book. And so we're able to show you those friend reviews in an intelligent way, when and where it makes sense, which is when you're looking at the book. And so we know your friend relationships from Twitter and Facebook. Yep. And we're able to filter across all of these sites to show you what your friends thought. And it doesn't matter whether they left the review on Barnes & Noble. If you're looking at the book on a dozen of the popular sites that we support, you're going to see their review. Yeah,
I've actually thought about this a lot. The idea that do you tend to value in aggregate what your friends think? I have a lot of people I'm friends with, but don't read the same books I do, right? So. Maybe that's just me, but it sort of tends to work out that I'll read these books over here, and most of my friends really won't, because I'm sort of a jock, so I'll hang out with them outside of work or whatever. But when I just have my alone time and I read, that's a completely different personality. So the thing that I wonder about is I'd rather see books that are reviewed by people like me. You guys, I guess I value that more than the friend graph. Do you provide that overlay? How does that work? I mean, I guess. That's the. Go ahead.
So actually, that's a very insightful comment, and you're right. I would say that we call the term taste neighbors.
Yes.
Taste neighbors is probably something that you would have. You would put more stock in their reviews. We've started with friends because it's, number one, an easier problem to solve, and number two, it's a stronger visual kind of reinforcement. Is that when I go and I see my friend Alex on the page, that resonates with me right when I'm on Amazon.
Yep.
We are working toward that second problem, which we actually agree is probably the more it's the better experience for the users, is to filter it based on taste neighbors. And so already today we're building into the service a concept called things in common. And so you can go to any user and you can see a number of things in common that you have with them, but then also within categories, because you may have great book taste with me or similarities between the two, but we may not enjoy the same movies. And the next step, and in future iterations of the product, is we want to start ranking and ordering the reviews as well as the favorites of these users for you based on how many things you have in common and how many things you have in common within a specific vertical.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, so I've been a user of the system now for several weeks. I've actually really had a lot of fun with it. I really enjoy it. So that's one of the reasons, when I guess Kat Meyer was the one who put us in touch. Oddly enough, I know her from the book side of my head, from the book world, as opposed to the technology world. So it was kind of funny when she sent out an email to a lot of us book people about your service, sort of saying, hey, authors, get engaged in this new thing, Glue. And I started laughing because I'd known about you from the technology side of my brain for a little while. And I thought, oh, great and timely bibliotech guest. So first of all, again, thank you for being here. So I've been using it now for a couple of weeks. The point being, one of the things I've noticed that actually kind of irks me, to be honest with you, is I can't add new items to your database, right? So it's sort of like Foursquare in some ways, but Foursquare has the problem of thing disambiguation where you have multiple copies of the same thing, right? So you have Gold's Venice, you have Gold's Gym, Venice, you have Gold's, that, you know, and they're all the same place, but because the users are adding them, you get this mess of things that aren't necessarily all tied together. You do not have that problem. However, you have the opposite problem, which is new things. Like a lot of the authors that watch this show are self-published, so their books do not have ISBNs. They're up on, you know, or they have audiobooks, podcast audiobooks. So what I'm getting at is, what is your thought on solving this problem of new things entering your system that you have no other way to get in?
So we have a couple of solutions currently for that, and I'll walk you through those in a minute. I just want to point out that we are aware of the issue, and especially as we grow and we get a lot of authors who are either doing audio books or self-published, we're working on a way to make a credible way to add these new items. We want to avoid the spam issue because right now the universe of objects on our service is fairly well constrained to books and movies and music that we would all be familiar with. We just don't want that to become overrun with things that we would not consider a real book or a music album. Right now, if it's not on getglue.com, what you can do is you can add our browser add-on and visit the book or the item on any of a number of dozen sites. And what that will do is it will save it into our object database, and then it will actually appear on getglue.com. And if you go to getglue.com/sites, you'll see all of the various sites that we support within the book category, within the movie category, and within the music category. And if your book is listed on any of those sites, if you go visit it with the add-on installed, it will then be within the object database that we control, and it will appear on getglue.com.
Got it. Okay. Okay. So another problem, and this is one that's actually the bane of my existence personally. So turns out in the 1800s there was an English burglar who was also named Mark Jeffrey, and if you go on Wikipedia, you'll find his mugshot. Basically, he was sentenced to the island of Tasmania as a gravedigger, and he basically. He, oddly enough, happened to write a book. And so there's one other author in the world named Mark Jeffrey, who happens to be an English convict from the 1800s. So I have a steampunk doppelganger following me around cyberspace right now. When I go to Glue, and I actually enter my own name in, he's the one who comes up. So how do you deal with multiple entries, where there are actually two Mark Jeffreys? What is your plan for dealing with that?
Well, first of all, I think we should look into it and see whether you've just picked a really bad pen name between a couple of your different books.
Well, it's my own name. I can't really, not much I can do about that.
Yeah. So I guess just going back to the idea of the digital fingerprint is, how would people know that it's a different Mark Jeffrey when they're going through the bookstore? They would look at the title of the book. They would look at the publication date. They would look at a couple of different characteristics to identify the difference between the two. We're not going to discern from a basic search what the user is looking for between those two, but we'll provide enough of the secondary information for them to be able to identify that they're actually looking for the books that you've written rather than the ex-convict.
Right. Okay. So how much of Glue Space is actually books? What is sort of the breakdown of things that you have?
We have tens of millions of different objects. You can think of. We are a superset of objects that exist on Amazon, Netflix, IMDb, Barnes & Noble, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. Books is by far, the biggest category from a user standpoint.
Really?
Yes.
Above
and that's just
interesting. I didn't think that.
Yeah. We've enjoyed a significant uptake across a number of publishers, which has helped us. With both distribution and reach, which is then also kind of fed back into the cycle. So we have a very strong book community who have been, building up the collection within our database, and then we have deals with Random House, O'Reilly Media, and then a number of small publishers like Unbridled Books, and
really?
those collectively.
You have deals directly with publishers. What are those deals? What do those encapsulate?
Yeah. So right now, Glue is a service for consumers, and then we've taken some of that core technology and we've packaged it in a way that makes sense for publishers. And right now, it's live on randomhouse.com, all of their book pages, and we also have author widgets that a number of publishers are using to provide authors with a widget that they can install onto their blog or social networking page. And there's two things that happen. Number one, for publishers and authors, it's a very good way to go or to provide users with a direct way to purchase the book on their preferred online retailer. So you can think of the inverse of what we have. So on the consumer service of Glue, we have a way to correlate that book from dozens of popular online book sites. We can just inverse that graph and provide a widget for even yourself or all of O'Reilly's authors, and we have a couple of other substantial deals coming soon, is from a single link, users can access your book across the dozen popular online book retail sites. And so you don't have to go through the mess of finding the site or finding the book on Amazon and Barnes & Noble and Powell's and Borders. You install our widget, and then a user can pick the link to their preferred online book retail.
Right. Let me stop right there, because this is an important point. We have a lot of authors who watch this show. So the value to an author in promoting their book using Glue is go to your site, and I suppose there's some, you'll tell me where I go, but basically I can get a widget, which I can then put on my website for my book or books. And that will then, when someone clicks on that link, they go to a Glue page where you've aggregated all the links and all the places where the book appears. How does that work?
Yep, so that's a great question. We are all about providing the best user experience that's possible. And so once the widget's installed on your site, they won't be pushed to a getglue.com page. What will appear is, let's say there's a widget of your books. Yep. If they click on one of the thumbnails, an overlay will appear right on your site that will provide a short summary of the book, information about the author, and then direct links to go buy the book across, I think it's about 10 different online retailers right now, ranging from Amazon to IndieBound to Books A Million and everything in between.
Ah, very nice. Okay. So it's a great way for an author to have a shortcut to all the different places where their book can be.
That's right.
Okay. So it occurs to me that this would be a great thing to have directly on my Kindle. Have you guys, I imagine you guys must have started talks with Amazon or thought about putting it directly on the Kindle or in the App Store, the iTunes App Store. What are your thoughts on that?
So we haven't gone down that path.
Anything you can talk about, that is.
We think that the ability to bring this type of information into the real world increasingly is going to add a lot of value. So you can imagine that if you're in a bookstore, if you're on your Kindle, browsing, being able to see filtered friend reviews or see what's most popular based on friend activity, or being able to see recommendations based on your taste profile are pretty compelling things to have in the right context. We're working on a couple of different things. I can't really speak about them right now.
Yeah.
Probably the easiest thing that would be coming soon would be a port of the website to an iPhone interface.
Got it. Okay. So let's talk about the Glue Bar real quick. So the Glue Bar, you described it earlier. It's a download. It goes into your browser, and then it watches. It basically sits on your shoulder and watches where you go online, and uses that to build up a profile of your tastes. So the inevitable question, I'm sure the one you've gotten a million times, is what if I don't want that thing on my shoulder? I'm a little bit creeped out. Maybe sometimes I want to follow me around. Maybe sometimes not. How do you guys deal with the privacy issue and your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so that's something that we've thought deeply about, and we always want to make sure that the user's in control, complete control of their privacy. So the first thing to point out is the browser add-on is only ever active on a subset of sites across the web, and those would be the popular book and movie and music sites. And that's one of the reasons why we have yet to introduce a way for self-published authors to be able to add themselves to the Glue network. Is what's nice about Amazon and IMDb and some of the other popular sites is they're already a built-in curated list, a whitelist, so to speak, right? Right. I'm not comfortable sharing all of my clicks across the web, but I'm fairly comfortable sharing, the books that I look at on Amazon, or the movies that I look at on IMDb. We know that that's not enough, though. So there's two broad privacy settings. You can opt into sharing only your explicit behavior. So if you like or dislike an item, that can be shared, and your visits won't be shared. The second thing is that you can protect your presence so that only approved friends can see your activity. Mm-hmm. And then on the individual visit level, you can always remove an item that you don't want to share. And so we call that either the Christmas gift setting or the embarrassing setting is. If you're looking at let's say a book that you're about to buy a loved one for Christmas and they're also on Glue and you don't want to share that information, it's a single click to remove that from your stream, and that connection is removed permanently.
Got it. Okay. All right. So the big question that all the VCs always want to know: how do you guys make money? What is the business that Glue ultimately is in?
So the way that we make money is through affiliate revenue right now. So you can imagine that if Glue is suggesting books or movies or music that you like, or if you're discovering books and music and movies for your friend, and you end up transacting on a number of the online retail sites, we're going to take a small percentage of that exchange. And it's just a standard affiliate relationship that many authors and book bloggers have, right? Whether it's an Amazon Associates ID or a commission junction.
Right.
And that's it. And we benefit from the large install base as well as the publisher partnerships that we have.
Got it. Okay. And then, so how do when people, so a lot of this, it depends on, other than the bar, right? So the bar is actually a passive way for people to participate. The active participation would seem to me that there's sort of a spike in the beginning, and then as time goes on, that sort of peters off. So I guess it's imperative upon you to convert the active users to passive users via the bar. How would you say, how successful have you guys been at that so far?
So that's exactly right. We are seeing, and I think it's a human kind of behavior, is when you're on a service, you go and you collect the things that you've already liked, and so we've made it almost frictionless to have a fun time going and building up your library of books and movies and music that you like, and building up your taste profile.
Yeah.
You ultimately hit a point where there's no more books to add, or there's very few more movies that you could add. And so, yes, having that passive behavior is an important thing. We've been very successful so far, Mark. Our background is, for about a year and a half, we only had the Glue add-on. We didn't have a website, so we've become very good at distributing the add-on and converting users to the add-on. The site has been a way for us to, to use business speak for a second, to fill the top of the funnel with users who are maybe not comfortable or not willing yet to download something for their browser. They can get very familiar with the service. They can see the value of it. They can experience it in a controlled way, and then they can add the add-on once they're ready.
Yeah, I have to say, just kudos to you guys. The site was a brilliant idea. I would have never put that add-on in, just because I wouldn't have, you tell me that it's watching what I'm doing. Anything you say after that, I don't hear. It's like, la, 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 watching what I'm doing. I'm not going to add it on. And, then you guys came up with a site, which is sort of Foursquare-ish to compare it to something people might be familiar with. And I say that with admiration, because I think Foursquare has succeeded brilliantly at a very simple user interface. It's like it's like popping paper. You keep going and you keep doing things, and you don't even really think about it. And a lot of time goes by, and then you're like, oh God, I've wasted like 3 hours. And your site is very much the same way. It's very addictive. It's very simple. It's very easy to understand, and you just go and go and go and go and go and tunnel around for a very long period of time, and that's great. So you guys, now I would think about potentially putting the bar in my browser. So kudos to you. Good job.
Thank you.
So we're almost out of time here. One last question: what is next for Glue? What do you guys? What's down the road? What do you get that you can speak about?
Sure. So we want to consistently be improving and tweaking the algorithm that makes the suggestions. So as these users build up their taste profiles, they're getting more value from it. I guess the immediate focus that we'll be having fun impact soon is exactly what you mentioned. You talked a little bit about Foursquare, and we've been inspired by them, as well as Xbox 360 achievements and Nike Plus, the system that tracks and rewards your running behavior. Is we've built a little bit of a game mechanic into Glue. And so we reward activity on the service with what we call stickers, which are a way to highlight your achievements, whether it's collecting items or finding and discovering interesting things. You can unlock and earn stickers, which are kind of fun. You mentioned that they're a little bit addicting. I found that as well. And so we want to continue to build up those and tweak the game mechanics so that it's increasingly fun and addicting to play Glue, so to speak. And we hope that will help encourage repeat usage over time, is that as you can earn these achievements, we think that people will stick around. And we were also working on a couple of cool things to reward certain people who have achieved specific things on Glue with a way, or I can't say anything more, but it's going to be very cool. We want to transition from the digital world to the physical world because we're in places that people are passionate about things like books and movies and music, and it's very natural for us to capitalize on that.
Got it. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Okay, Fraser, well, listen, thank you so much for being on the show. Fraser Kelton, thank you. The site is getglue.com. I'm Mark Jeffrey. This is Bibliotech. We'll see you next time.